former President Jimmy Carter has passed away at the age of 100, 2 months after marking his milestone birthday and almost 44 years after he left the White House. Carter, who served as president from January 1977 until January 1981, was a former peanut farmer from Plains, Georgia, who built a lasting legacy as a human rights advocate and humanitarian, ultimately earning a Nobel Peace Prize in 2002 for his charitable works. However, while he earned worldwide recognition both during and after his time as president, privately, Carter stayed true to his humble Georgia roots, passing away in a home located in the same town where he was born, and which was the only property he and his late wife, Rosalind, ever owned. Our founder, former U.S. President Jimmy Carter, passed away this afternoon in Plains, Georgia, said a statement shared by his nonprofit, the Carter Center, on December 29th. The incredibly modest 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom ranch-style dwelling served as the primary residence for the Carter family from 1961, the year it was built, with the couple buying the home more than 10 years before Carter became president. This is the first and only home the Carters have owned, and it has been the permanent residence of the family since 1961, the Library of Congress says of the 4,000-square-foot abode. The Carters' residence in this modest 1960s ranch-style house corresponds with the highlights of Jimmy Carter's political career from state senator, 1963 to 71, to governor of Georgia, 1971 to 75, to 39th President of the United States, 1977 to 81. It was to this house that Carter returned after losing his bid for re-election in 1980, and where he lived alongside his wife until her death in November 2023 at the age of 96. So significant was the home in the couple's life that Rosalind is buried on the property, and it is where Jimmy himself passed away, 2 years after he announced that he would spend his final days undergoing hospice care in the home. Unlike other former presidents, who lived in and owned multi-million-dollar homes in some swanky locales, Jimmy Carter was happy to stay put in his Plains home, which was recently valued at just $167,000. Statement from President Carter's family. The outpouring of love and support we have received from around the world confirms what we have known all along. Jimmy Carter's family extends far beyond blood relatives. We are sincerely grateful for everyone's words of comfort and acts of kindness following the passing of such a champion of human rights, justice, and peace. The state funeral for former President Jimmy Carter will be held on January 9th in Washington, D.C., according to a presidential declaration by President Biden. Mr. Biden also said that day will be a national day of mourning for Carter, who died Sunday, December 29th, at the age of 100. I call on the American people to assemble on that day in their respective places of worship, there to pay homage to the memory of President James Earl Carter, Jr., Mr. Biden said in a statement. I invite the people of the world who share our grief to join us in this solemn observance. Mr. Biden declared that all American flags be flown at half-staff for 30 days at all federal buildings, military posts and naval stations, as well as on all naval vessels. Most of the federal government will be closed on January 9th in observance of the day of mourning, the president said in a proclamation on Monday. Congressional leaders also announced that Carter will lie in state in the Capitol Rotunda from January 7th to January 9th. The Capitol will be open to the public during designated times for those who wish to pay their respects to President Carter, their statement said. Mr. Biden said there will be a major service in Washington to honor Carter, with the venue expected to be the National Cathedral. It will be the first funeral for a former president since 2018, when President George H.W. Bush died. The state funeral is part of a 7 to 10-day affair, which will consist of 3 stages. The first stage involves memorials and ceremonies in Georgia, where he lived most of his life. The next stage involves ceremonies in Washington, which may involve Armed Forces Honor Guards, elite military bands and other service academies, National Guard and U.S. Armed Forces Reserve units, according to the Pentagon. The Carter Center confirmed Monday that Carter will lie in state in Rotunda of the U.S. Capitol. The next stage is ceremonies in the state where the former president has chosen to be interred. The Carter Center has already said there will be a private ceremony in Plains, Georgia, Carter's hometown, who is likely to attend Carter's funeral. Mr. Biden has previously said Carter asked him to deliver the eulogy at his funeral. First Lady Jill Biden is also likely to attend. Former presidents and former first ladies usually attend the funerals of a fellow former president, So expect to see Barack and Michelle Obama, Bill and Hillary Clinton, as well as George and Laura Bush. Will Trump attend Carter's funeral? President-elect Donald Trump said Tuesday that he plans to attend the funeral. "I'll be there," Trump said. "We were invited members." He did not attend Rosalind Carter's funeral in 2023, but his wife Melania Trump attended, along with all the former First Ladies. The last former president to die was George H.W. Bush, who died in 2018 while Trump was in the White House. Trump attended the Washington service for Bush along with Melania Trump. Trump issued 2 statements on Sunday night about Carter, saying, "We all owe him a debt of gratitude." Can the public view Carter lying in state? House Speaker Mike Johnson, Senate Democratic Leader Chuck Schumer, Senate Majority Leader-elect John Thune, and House Democratic Leader Hakeem Jeffries announced that Carter's remains will lie in state at the Capitol from the afternoon of January 7th to the morning of January 9th, ahead of the funeral. The Capitol Rotunda will be open to the public during designated times for Americans to pay their respects. Born and raised in Plains, Georgia, Carter graduated from the U.S. Naval Academy in 1946 and joined the U.S. Navy's submarine service. He married Rosalind Smith, and they worked closely together throughout their lives. Carter returned home after his military service and revived his family's peanut-growing business. Opposing racial segregation, Carter supported the growing civil rights movement and became an activist within the Democratic Party. After serving in the Georgia State Senate and then as governor of Georgia, Carter ran for president in the 1976 presidential election. Initially a dark horse candidate not well known outside Georgia, he secured the Democratic nomination and selected Walter Mondale as his running mate. They narrowly defeated the Republican Party's ticket of President Gerald Ford and Senator Bob Dole. On his second day in office, Carter pardoned all Vietnam War draft evaders. He created a national energy policy that included conservation, price control, and new technology. Carter successfully pursued the Camp David Accords, the Panama Canal treaties, and the second round of strategic arms limitation talks. He also confronted stagflation. He signed into law bills that established the U.S. Department of Energy and the Department of Education.